Hey, thanks for coming to the channel. Today I'm just going to do a quick little oil change on the JL. It has about 36,000 miles on it. I've used all of my, free, I guess you could call them free. You probably pay for it in some way, shape, or form, but the dealership does for you when you buy a Jeep if you have the Jeep Wave, which basically gives you like free oil changes for like the first year or some sort of miles. But I'm way past that with my road trip. I've definitely over that period. So it's time that I do the oil change myself from now on. I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview on how to do that and what tools you need, what kind of oil I use for my personal use. And yeah, it's really easy, really straightforward. And I definitely recommend, if you have any knowledge on how to use tools at all, or if you don't need that many tools, especially with this Jeep. They make it super, super, super easy to do the oil change yourself. So even if you don't have any tools, you need like 15-20 bucks worth of tools and then the oil, and you'll end up actually spending less money than if you go to the dealership and have it done, unless you still have those free oil changes. But eventually you're gonna run out of those. You're gonna have to do it yourself or pay someone to do it. Yeah, I'm just gonna show you what you need and go from there. All right, so right here, this is everything that you'll need to do an oil change. You don't need these specific tools, just like an adjustable wrench, which is like this. This is really all that you need to get this job done. As long as you can reach underneath your Jeep and get to the drain plug, which is the 14mm. Normally, everywhere I read online, it said it should be a 14mm. The fact that I have a 1/2 inch makes me feel like I might have been gypped, or they might have lost mine. But here's the bolt that came off. Let me know in the comments if you've done this before, if this looks different from the ones that's on yours. I don't know if it's different ranging from the different years of the JL, but this is what mine looks like. It's not magnetic. It has these like stamped numbers on them like this. It has like this rubber seal, which is normally accomplished by having copper or brass washer to complete the seal, because he kind of squishes it in and makes a good seal against the oil pan. Anyway, one other tool that you might need that wasn't in this little pile is just a regular flathead screwdriver. You typically want to get a smaller screwdriver because you'll need to use this to actually undo a O-ring that is on the oil filter cap. That's just to help seal the oil filter cap and create a tight seal against the engine block. The type of oil that you'll need, I have the 3.6 liter engine in my JLU. So the type of oil I'm using is 0W20 full synthetic. I got just Mobil 1 extended performance. This one right here where it says ILS AC GF6A, you want to make sure it meets or exceeds those requirements. And you'll need a oil catch. I've already drained the oil. I decided to make a video after I had already unplugged it, but so the oil is already drained on mine, but that's the only step that I've taken. This is the oil pan right here. It's right underneath the engine. You can't miss it. It has that plug right there. You should be able to just loosen it with the adjustable wrench or the socket, and then you should take it out by hand. Mine's been sitting here dripping for a while, so it's probably fairly empty by now, but you do want to let it sit and make sure everything drips out before you move on to the next step, which is replacing the filter, which I'll do right now. So on these 3.6 liter Pentastar V6s, the oil filter is actually right next to the engine oil fill right here. This little cap right here, this is what the 22mm fits on. If you undo this, I'll show you how to take out your oil filter. So here's my 1/2 inch drive. I have a little extension on it, so it's a little bit easier for me to reach. I also need to step up on my bumper to be able to reach up in here comfortably. But you just put this on here. Once you break it free, it should be fairly easy to come off. And then you should be able to just pull it out, maybe loosen a little bit more by hand. This might still have oil dripping off of it, so you want to be careful not to make a big mess. I'm actually going to grab one of my rags to put this right here, and then I'm going to lift this up. It's going to be hard to record, so I'm just going to lift this up, throw it on the towel so that I don't get oil dripped everywhere. So just like that, I've lifted it up. We'll come back down here. You see it still has a decent amount of oil, and once you remove that oil cap, it'll allow airflow and there won't be a vacuum in the system anymore. So it might start dripping out a little bit faster. So make sure you still have your oil catch underneath there when you take this off, even if the dripping has significantly slowed down. To remove the oil filter from here, these just clip on together. To remove it, you just kind of can pull these apart. It should just unclip like this. You can see how dirty my oil was. And then the O-ring is going to be on this little groove right here. Like I said, you can use that regular screwdriver to take that off. I like to use my fingers so I accidentally damage any of these plastic threads. You know, this is pretty tough plastic, but I still don't want to risk it. So I use my fingers to remove that O-ring. And then I'm gonna be able to put the new filter on after I clean this all out with brake clean and make sure it's nice, clean, no old gross oil on it. You can see how gross and dirty that is, stuff coming out of there. And then, you know, you can use a shop rag, kind of get in there, clean it out a bit more. This is not a necessary step. I like to do it so that there's no, you know, remnants of old gross oil in there. And then we're gonna open up our new oil filter right here. So as you can see, the new oil filter is very clean. It has this little seal against the, you know, wherever the intake is of the oil. You do want to give these a quick inspection, make sure there's no cracks in the plastic or anything like that. That would cause the oil not to go through the filter. And then you have your second O-ring right here. So I'm gonna open this up, and then you're gonna wanna use some of the new oil and lube this up before you put it on. So I've taken some of the new oil, poured it into the cap just a little bit. So you just put it on your finger, or your two fingers, and just kinda, you know, make sure the entire O-ring has some lubrication. This will help it create a good seal. It goes right on the same ridge that it came off of, so. I just did it with one hand, so you can kind of roll it down into that groove, just like this. Again, you might want to lube up your little O-ring at the bottom here. Then you can throw your new oil filter on. It should just clip in. You might notice there's a little bit of springiness to it, and that's because there is a spring down in here to help it create a tight seal. So then you're gonna climb back up here, throw this back in, make sure you're not cross-threading. Put that back on until it's finger tight, and then you typically want to just tighten it a good amount, but once it gets hard to tighten, you want to stop. You don't want to over-tighten these. The next step in the process is going to be to replace your drain plug. You want to make sure it's nice and tight, not over tightened, but you do want to make sure it's tight, creating good seal against the oil pan. You can just kind of grab a cloth. Once you have your cloth, you've wiped it off a little bit, just grab your drain plug. And once you get it in that hole, it should stop dripping. And again, I'm just gonna wipe off this excess real quick, and then finger tighten it down, grab your wrench and give it a nice tug, but not super tight. Now you're ready to add the new oil back into the system, so we're gonna do that next. All right, so now that you have the new oil filter in and you have the drain plug reattached to the bottom, you can take off your oil fill cap, put this somewhere safe where you're not gonna lose it. I like to use a funnel, just so I don't get oil everywhere. The Jeep takes 5.9 quarts of 0W20, like I said earlier. So I have 5 quarts. So I'm gonna do is add this, turn the Jeep on so that it's running, so the engine warms up. And then I'm gonna check the oil level and start filling it up using this extra 1 quart that I have until it hits the full line. I'd recommend you do the same thing so you don't actually add too much oil, or you don't accidentally not put enough. So add the 5 quarts, turn it on, then use the oil dipstick to tell if you need to add more or if you're good. All right, so I've just added this full 5 quarts right here. So I'm gonna put the oil cap back on, and then I'm going to turn the engine on and leave it running until it warms up, gets to the right temperature. And you wanna leave this running until your engine temp gets up to the correct temperature, which should be right below like the middle area right there. So after you have the Jeep running for a little bit, you can take the dipstick out and just check oil level. And as you can see on mine, the oil level's full. All right guys, just real quick, I did a really bad job when I was filming initially on how to reset your oil life in your Jeep computer, so that it shows up on your heads-up display here correctly, so it shows up on the instrument cluster correctly. In the video I missed a couple of things. I didn't explain what I was doing. The video was off. I thought I was recording when I wasn't. So the whole entire picture, after I was editing it, it just wasn't working. So I decided to come back out and refilm how to reset the oil life in your Jeep JL. So step 1, you're gonna wanna make sure that your Jeep is off all the way. And then without putting your foot on the brake, you wanna press the start button once, and then again until it's on run. And what that will do is it'll turn on your instrument cluster. And in order to, when you're on your instrument cluster, you might see you have a check engine light on or something like that. Don't worry about that. None of that means anything. So what you want to do next is it's telling you brake plus the button to start the engine. We don't actually need to do that. What we need to do is use these buttons on your steering wheel here to scroll until you get to your until you get to vehicle info. And once you're on vehicle info, by scrolling up or down, it looks like it is option number 2, vehicle info. Then you can scroll using the left or right buttons until you find your oil life. All right, so you got to scroll through all of them. It'll show you your tire pressure, the engine temp, trans temp, oil pressure, and then finally oil life. And as you can see, it says hold OK to reset. And so what that wants us to do is hold this OK button. I'm not going to do it because I did it when I changed my oil, and I don't want to redo it now because then it wouldn't be accurate. But basically you hold this OK button right in the middle, and that will reset this to, instead of it saying 94% or whatever it says on yours, it'll say 100% again. And you want to do that before you start driving your Jeep again so that you know it's accurate. And that's it. And then, you know, you can throw yourself a sticker up in the corner here or somewhere else on the dash to remind yourself of how many miles you need to go before you change it. For me, I just pay attention to the miles that I have, and I know when to change it according to the miles. I believe there are other ways that you can reset this oil life indicator by like pressing the gas pedal 3 times or something like that. I'm not 100% sure how to do that. This is how I do it, using the controls on the computer inside. And yeah, that's basically it. So sorry about the different location, different mileage, and incorrect oil life compared to the rest of the video, but I wanted to make sure that I explained this well, and I wanted to make sure I was very clear on how to do it so that if you were following this video, you would know what to do. But yeah, just a quick little video, how to do your oil change. We have an oil change coming up for the C8 soon. Probably gonna have to do a little bit of looking over on the CJ before the winter, before it snows. And then yeah, that's basically it. I might want to do some wax coating on the bottom of the JL before it starts snowing, and there's ice and salt getting kicked up underneath there all winter long. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you coming by the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.